I wonder how long this comment section is going to go before we start seeing terms like Drake Dick Rider pop up. I'm going to give it about an hour or so. What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're an indie artist looking for an album review and some promo, you can hit up Luke at redmattersite.com. But right now, we are going to talk about this long-awaited Meek Mill mixtape called DC4 or Dream Chasers 4. And before I do get into talking about this tape, I feel like I have to do a little bit of a preface to this review because I know this comment section is going to be a damn war zone. It seems like any time I critique Meek Mill in any type of way, all of his stans come over and say I'm a Drake dick rider or maybe I'm a Game dick rider, despite me feeling that Views and 1992 were both very average albums. I wasn't really blown away by either of those. So when I went into this review, I was open-minded and I actually wanted Meek Mill to come with some fire, man, because I wanted him to shut everybody up, make us all believers, and just let the music speak for itself. And sometimes you have people out here saying how Meek Mill has taken a lot of L's over the past year or so. And when people say that, they're not saying that his career is over and he's broke and he doesn't have success, because obviously Meek Mill is doing fine. He's got some money. He's got Nicki Minaj. He's still making music. So they're not saying that he's taking L's as a way of saying he's done. They're just saying, you know, when it comes to some of these little rap beefs and battles, he probably could have handled that shit better, because I think most people would agree that Pest Control and also Back to Back are much better than Wanna Know, which was one of the worst disses / responses of all time, and also that Ooh remix. So I just wanted to get all that out of the way just to set a little bit of context, and I wanted Meek Mill to come through with fire here. But for the most part, I wasn't really blown away with this mixtape, man. I think if you're a Meek Mill fan, you'll probably be happy, because this just sounds like pretty much everything he's made within the past couple of years. He's still screaming, using that same flow and delivery style, and he's also coming through with the same type of content. You're gonna get some street bars and some dope boy shit, although he does show some glimpses of some pretty good lyricism in my opinion, like on Tony Story 3, where he tells this very in-depth story, even though the production on that was kind of dull because of how the drums plodded along. And even on Shine, where he gets personal and he brings up how he doesn't want to get caught up in all this bullshit, you know, violence out there in the streets, and how people are trying to get these beefs to turn to violence. He doesn't want to do all that because he wants to focus on his music and his success. And he even shows some love to the young brothers coming up in Philly and says, you know what, don't get caught up in that street life, don't get boxed into that corner. So there are a couple of moments with his lyricism, but for the most part, man, this shit is mostly just that braggy street shit that you expect from Meek. It's not that I expect him to be a political activist, but it would have been nice to see some sort of growth or even more experimentation, because he's pretty much screaming throughout this whole thing. Even on the song Blue Notes, where we get this nice jazzy production, he comes in screaming over top of it, and it just doesn't really fit the feel of that beat, in my opinion. That kind of threw me off a bit. And the only other moment where he's really trying anything kind of different and new is on the song You Know, where he's just doing a little bit of crooning. This is just a lovey-dovey sort of track. So you know what, there might be a couple of moments on here where you can say he's trying something a bit different, but not enough that it's really exciting or exceptional or out of the ordinary. And that's one of the things that I feel about Meek Mill, and one of the things I've felt about Meek Mill for a long time, is that he just doesn't really do anything too different. I mean, how many times do you hear him mention his Wraith on this project? It is all over the damn place. Yes, you're going to hear him rap about his Rolly as well. He's just rapping about all the same shit that he's been rapping about forever. And I know he's not the only rapper that does that. A lot of rappers stay in their lane, but they find a way to switch it up, maybe with the production, maybe with some vocal styles, or maybe with a concept. Even though I didn't like Game's 1992 album that much, I liked that it was a concept. So I feel like maybe Meek needs to do something different to just really make himself stand out a bit, because this just sounds like the same shit he has been making forever. But if there's one thing I can give him props for, it's his beat selection, because man, this shit has some undeniable bangers on it, especially the orchestral epic production on the intro and the outro. And I do gotta say, Lil Snoop kind of snaps on that outro, so rest in peace to Lil Snoop. That was a dope verse. But the other features on here really aren't too out of the ordinary. They didn't really blow me away too much. I know I say that a lot, that things don't blow me away, but that's just my way of saying it's kind of run-of-the-mill and paint by the numbers. For example, on the song Froze, you get Lil Uzi Vert just doing his auto-tune thing, and also a feature from Nicki Minaj where, you know, she's always good for a couple cringy bars, like when she talks about how her pussy ring is frostbit. I did kind of like this beat on here from Sunny Digital because it's a banger, but it was still my least favorite track overall. Nothing really interesting happening with this one. And then on Offended, this was a track that I actually really liked. I thought Young Thug snapped on that first verse. The beat was pretty cool, but then 21 Savage comes on, and he just kind of grinds it all to a screeching halt. That's just how I feel about 21 Savage, man. His flow is very dull. He rarely says anything of interest. So whenever he pops up on any song, I just go, okay, here we go. I go good. But if you like these newer artists like 21 Savage and Lil Uzi Vert, obviously you're going to like these songs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just for me personally, I wasn't really a big fan of most of this mixtape. And when I say that, there are a lot of people who say, oh man, you're just a Meek Mill hater. But then if I said I love this Meek Mill mixtape, people are going to say, oh, so now you're jumping on the wave. You were hating on Meek Mill. So it's kind of like you can't win with your opinion on this one, but I just thought it was very average. As for a couple of other features, just to wrap up a couple songs here, you got Tory Lanez on Liddy, and I thought this was another banger, but it depends on if you can take Tory Lanez as auto-tuning for any amount of time. That's going to be whether you like it or not, man. If you don't like Tory Lanez, you're not going to like that song. If you do, you probably will like it. And you even get a Pusha T verse on Two Wrongs, but that definitely wasn't Pusha T's strongest verse. Wouldn't say it's a whack verse. I don't know if Pusha T has too many of those, but this wasn't a feature where I was very excited. I was looking forward to this and thinking, oh, Pusha T's on here. Maybe he's gonna bring some heat, but his verse was pretty average, just some typical dope boy shit as you expect from Pusha T. And it's too bad because I was thinking maybe they could come together to get at Drake since they both have a little bit of static with him, but they didn't do that at all. And what you get is just, you know, an all right song. There's some nice vocals from Gordon Banks. It's kind of a soft track. So there are some decent moments throughout this mixtape. I'm not saying it's trash. And this one to me is just a 2.5 out of 5. Very standard, average Meek Mill project. And if you're a Meek Mill fan, I could see this going two ways. Either you're going to love this because this is exactly what you wanted, since it sounds just like pretty much everything else that he's been making. No growth, very little versatility, very little creativity. Or, because of those reasons I just said, as a Meek Mill fan, you might be wondering, when is he going to try something new and really kind of step his music up and maybe venture off down some different paths? Just experiment a little bit, just something, man. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section what you think, and make sure you do all that good YouTube and social media stuff, man, where you like my videos, you share them, you follow me on Twitter, you retweet the videos. You also got to make sure you like the Facebook page, subscribe to the channel. All these things help me out and help the channel grow. So thank you very much for supporting. I hope you checked out that 15K video. It was a big thank you to you guys. I also answered a bunch of questions. So thank you for watching and supporting. I will see you next time.